very, very bad at preserving the history that it creates. African societies have always chosen to express themselves in perishable media that require constant renewal, or they go away. Buildings made out of mud in a place where the rains will bring them down if you don't keep plastering them. Carving wood in a place where there are plenty of termites. Cotton fabrics. Most of all, bodies moving in space, most evanescent of things, or the spoken or the sung word, the rhythm of drums, and so on and so forth. All of this stuff goes away really easily. Hampate Ba famously said, when an old person dies in Africa, it's like a library burning. The oral tradition is, among other things, a very cumbersome recording technology. Anything that isn't constantly repeated and accurately repeated goes away forever. It's getting hard to find young people who want to volunteer for this kind of disciplined repetition. And so culture loss of a truly breathtaking scale is taking place across the continent right now, even as Lagos and Dakar and Johannesburg are enjoying a wonderful renaissance of the arts. This other thing is also happening. Film is uniquely good at preserving ephemeral art forms like dance, like music, like the spoken word. But film is ephemeral itself. Celluloid lasts more or less forever if you keep it refrigerated, but how many Nigerian films have been refrigerated? And videotape and digital discs are a little bit more durable than a mud construction left out in the rain, but not by much. After 5 years, they start deteriorating. Digital postmodernity, of course, has its own set of ephemeralities. So, to survive as part of a tradition, films need not only to be preserved physically, they need to be seen and they need to be discussed. They need a social infrastructure as well as a material one. There is a strong utopian aspect to the moment we're living in that deserves celebration. My DSTV premium package gives me almost 20 channels of African movies. Global capitalism has recognized that Africa is the last major underdeveloped market for film and other medias, and they are interested. They want to invest, they want to exploit, but they're coming, they're here. More and more cinemas will be built. The recession and most of all the decline in the Naira has really slowed down the process of constructing new cinemas, but we can expect there'll be many, many more of them. The internet is in effect an infinitely large platform for content. Satellite television is another one. As terrestrial television broadcasting switches over from analog to digital, states that used to have 3 channels now have 15. That's going on all over the country. Content is king is a phrase that echoes around discussions of the Nigerian media environment. So technology makes the creation of content unprecedentedly open, democratic, and meritocratic. On a panel about the music video industry at iREPweb last November, someone asked Clarence Peters about how to break into Nollywood, and his response was, the problem is it's so easy now to put any kind of digital visual art up on the internet and get it noticed, that the problem is not breaking in, the problem now is choosing your relationship with Nollywood. Does that sound too optimistic? Anyway, Nigerian young people, like their global peers, treat their cell phones like prosthetic devices, an omnipresent extension of their bodies, minds, social business, social being, and life stories. They're perpetually narrativizing their own lives, on Instagram or whatever. Real life is not, I'm talking about my kids, is not imaginable apart from its representation on social media. There is of course, a lot about the current moment that's much less than utopian. I don't mean to be callous and stupid about the hard structural realities of African screen media. My DSTV premium package costs more than half the new Nigerian minimum wage, monthly minimum wage. Global media are consolidating as well as diversifying and democratizing. Money is power, and Africa is relatively poor and therefore peripheral. Racism and ethnocentrism still structures the global market in images. Americans will watch Black Panther, they won't watch a movie actually made in Africa. Crazy Rich Asians is a global hit because it's a Hollywood movie about Asian Americans. The Wedding Party, let's face it, is basically about as good a movie, but it can't get theatrical release in North America. And the business model of every form of media everywhere in the world, from book and newspaper publishing to Facebook, seems to be unsettled or in full crisis. In Nigeria, the companies operating the new big pipes for films on the internet and global satellite transmission need an enormous amount of content. So there's plenty of work for filmmakers. But the companies need most of this content to be cheap. It's kind of filling up these platforms. So apart from the occasional blockbuster, budgets are low and the work seldom pays very well. People tell me quietly they used to make more money in the old disc market than they do now, making a film for 4 million naira for iREPwebTV. iREPW and Ebony Life and so on, all these, they commission 4 million naira movies by the hundred, and so they're kind of reproducing the conditions of the old Idumoto and Alaba market, where you constantly have a glut on the market of very, very low budget films, and it's very hard to emerge out of that economy. As everybody's been discussing, there's certainly a dystopian side to the new digital regime, fake news, and so on and so forth. A consequence of the new digital regime for documentary filmmakers is the problem of how to distinguish oneself in a world where the digital cloud is choked with images and stories, and where iPhones shoot 4K, so that an amateur with a phone, which he puts on auto settings, can produce images that aren't strikingly different from what a professional would produce, especially if you're watching these images on a small screen or on a tiny screen. With all due respect for the arts of the image, it's the other half of cinema, its narrative, its storytelling side, which is decisive here in making content that people will really choose. Artistry is decisive. The fusion of heart, mind, imagination, and craft. Depth of purpose is the most important thing of all. Okay, the third section is about the liberal arts, and I'm going to skip parts of it. I go on for a long time about my hesitations in talking about the liberal arts, partly because I always tune out when people start doing that. It's just, I don't need to hear sort of gaseous celebrations of things that I already believe in. Well, there are other reasons too. I'm going to say some things that may sound unkind about Nigerian university education. And so I want to go on record as saying that I had one. When I first arrived here, as a Fulbright lecturer, I was already educated and credentialed, but I was new in African studies, and I became an Africanist at UNN and ABU and UI, and now I'm at Unilag feeling myself to be a final year student or something, but I was really educated by Nigerian intellectuals and as one. Another problem is that the liberal arts can seem like a luxury good. That's because it's a social liberal arts are inherently expensive. Some things get cheaper because of economies in the productive system, but medicine and education do not. So it keeps getting more and more expensive relative to everything else. And neoliberalism on my side of the Atlantic, as well as yours, has decided that society will no longer pay for this. You know, the liberal arts are really in some crisis. A third point I wanted to make is that, you know, I've never confused education with schooling, much less with credentialing. Didn't confuse it in my own personal experience, where I was always bored in school, or in principle. I've been asking, I really think that education is the greatest problem facing this country. Your political leaders are going to burn in hell, but I also wonder at an electorate which didn't force education into the forefront of discussion in the last election. What's going on is really a recipe for long-term disaster. I've been asking myself whether Nigeria's existing education system, which schools children but does not educate them, might not actually be worse than useless, because it blocks them from the kind of education that their grandparents or great-grandparents would have gotten. Africa used to have education without schooling, and it worked better in a lot of ways. I mean, it's not, there are things about the modern world that it can't do, so this other thing is kind of inevitable, but I'm particularly eager to avoid giving the impression that I'm smugly describing the virtues of something that most Nigerians haven't had and can't afford, with the effect of disempowering the uncredentialed. So fourthly, I offer a concrete example of the virtues that one could hope that a liberal education might bring to Nigerian filmmaking. My example is sitting right here. Tunde Kalani has a deep sense of history and of its life in the present, constantly displays an appreciation of all the arts. He shows his deep reading in his own literary tradition and in world literature. He exudes a broad ecumenical humanism, a capacious human sympathy, and an allergy to fanaticism, a devotion to public life and the common good, a rootedness in a particular heritage, and a complementary cosmopolitanism. He's an avid adopter of new technologies and entrepreneurial business strategies. He has a fertile, inventive, creative mind and utterly independent spirit. He's also a superb collaborator. He holds his values deeply, thinks about them, and propagates them. Everything that education, you know, can bring, he embodies. He deserves a dozen honorary doctorates, but my point is the irony in the fact that he never had that kind of liberal arts education. He apprenticed to a still photographer, then was trained at the NTA, then spent 2 years at the London International Film School. So, you know, he gave himself a liberal education. But institutions do matter. We live in a utopia of free educational resources, YouTube videos on every conceivable topic, nofilmschool.com, the Khan Academy, Coursera, and so on. But universities have learned that online learning usually doesn't actually work very well unless there's strong support structures built around it. And most people don't have TK's motivation. Filmmaking in Nigeria has come so far, has accomplished so much, risen to such a level, that it's bumping up against a set of structural limitations that may seem less immediate and dire than piracy and the lack of electricity. But you know, education is one of these structural limits. Nigerian filmmakers get training in various ways. The most ambitious and best resources go abroad to study in universities or in professional training schools, such as the New York Film Academy. The luckiest are admitted to the multi-choice talent factory. The NFI in Jos has produced some very distinguished graduates. Leading filmmakers have their own training institutes from TK on down. the Nigerian government film fund channeled money into training programs. Numerous short courses are sponsored by the NFC, by embassies, the NGOs. In the Onitsha Saba Enugu axis, where something like half of all Nigerian films are made, almost everyone has learned on the job, kind of exclusively learned on the job. Of course, everywhere else, many people also have that kind of education. There's something good in this, even in this last case of learning on the job, which sometimes produces work of impressive professionalism. Sometimes it doesn't. The scattered short courses fit into the lives of working filmmakers and meet the need for the constant renewal of professional skills as technologies change. People who are paying out of pocket for skills they know they need, specific skills, are apt to be diligent students. But there's pretty much no university offering a full curriculum in film studies or film production that's integrated with a liberal arts education in Nigeria. PAU is launching a MSc program. Uniport also is trying to do things. Many Nigerian universities have theater arts departments which are adding "and film" to their name, but almost none of them are actually adding courses or faculty to teach those courses. And there's a real political problem there. The existing theater arts faculties know that they're not qualified to teach film, and they also know that if they actually offered film courses, the theater arts students would desert en masse. So, okay, what are the problems that result from this lack of integration of film education with a larger liberal arts education? It's felt in subtle ways, or maybe sometimes they're not so subtle. I agree with what seems to be conventional wisdom about the current state of Nollywood. The films are much better technically, but the stories are generally less interesting than the ones that were being told on VHS tape, less compelling. They don't speak to people in the same way. There's several reasons for this. One is that the younger generation of filmmakers is a little obsessed. They're reveling in their skill in producing brilliant images, and they are often brilliant at that. They have the technology and they have the techniques to do this, and of course they enjoy it. Another problem is that the upper end of Nigerian film production now kind of depends on the prospect of getting into the cinemas, and the cinema audiences, multiplex audiences are young, they're affluent, they're relatively Americanized in their tastes, and so on and so forth. So it's actually quite a narrow demographic in terms of the wider society that at this moment is determining films that can be made on larger budgets. I think this is a transient phase, but it's the one we're in. The filmmakers' lack of appropriate advanced education shows. Some months ago, I had a conversation on this subject with Mahmoud Ali Balogun, conversation that's really stuck with me. The generation that created Nollywood was likely to have had, he was saying, had a much more thorough education in literature, drama, history, languages, political science, art history, sociology. Or some of them did. Achiko Ejiro didn't, but he knew Fred Amata and would hire him as a script consultant or as an artistic director. And, people like Fred could bring a sense for how to develop a character, a sense of how to spot a historical error, a sense of how to give something a political dimension that was deeper. Mahmoud and I agreed that the script tends to be the weakest element in Nollywood films. Literary education is the best preparation for script writing, not so much because it offers a template to be followed, but because it enables a creative, sophisticated response to new situations. Allows one to catch an original insight or image, to improvise a new rhythm because you've known, internalized, and loved so many others. It brings a richness of intention as well as expression. Scriptwriting is the thing that the universities could plausibly help with, more or less immediately and more or less out of existing faculty resources. But the actually existing universities, battered as they have been by decades of neglect, aren't automatically going to solve these problems in the film industry. And in fact, I believe for a long time that a lot of what is wrong with Nollywood films is a result of university education in theater arts programs which teach forms of acting and dramatic construction and dialogue that are too literary for the film medium. All right, let me. So the Union of Filmmakers and the universities is not exactly a marriage made in heaven, but I think it's still necessary. I felt another dimension of the problem a few weeks ago when I spent some days in Film One, the film distribution and production company, because I was interested in the people, the people who work there have this tremendous shaping influence on what kind of films get made and what kind of films get into the multiplex cinemas, which means on what kind of films get made. And I hadn't read any, as far as I knew, nobody had really done any research on how these people think and make decisions. Anyway, I tell a couple of stories I'm not going to repeat here about how in Film One they just have simply imported Hollywood genres as a way of categorizing films. The main argument in my last book, was that you shouldn't do that, that Nigeria created its own system of genres out of the desires and anxieties and tensions of Nigerian society, and you sort of have to see these films in the terms that are proper to them, or you'll mistake them. I also took part, I was an observer in a film story development workshop, an all-day thing where they were, working up a film treatment. And, very impressive, bright bunch of writers. But I kept track of all the cultural references that were made in the course of this day-long thing. King of Boys was the only Nigerian film mentioned. City of God was a great favorite in the room. Everything else was American, from Saving Private Ryan to Game of Thrones. So, my point was, these were very highly educated people, but they were all educated in something else, in engineering and chemistry and accounting and business and, never in film. That there was no institution that was providing a sense of cultural context, for the people who most needed a sense of their own heritage, filmmaking heritage. They didn't have it. That just seemed not to exist for them. If you were with a bunch of writers in Asaba, it would be a very different situation. But yeah, as the Nigerian filmmaking, it's growing in a lot of directions. It's segmenting. It's harder than ever to keep track of what's going on. I feel kind of exhausted trying to do that even in a cursory way. And there are fewer and fewer people I know I can find to talk to who have that wide perspective. So my point is that Nigeria needs film studies to be institutionalized in some way, so that a comprehensive sense of Nigeria's heritage on film and television is kept alive, made to inform the present and the future, and is held in a conscious relationship to other aspects of Nigerian culture. To flourish, film needs to be a whole ecology. Filmmaking is a team sport, Charles Olegbe kept repeating in a panel at Afrif. I once heard Femi Odugbemi say that Nigeria needs highly trained producers more than it needs more brilliant, highly trained directors. at ArtX. Chika Okeke-Agulu and Yinka Shonibare, MBE, made a parallel point about the art world. They agreed that Nigerian artists need good critics, serious critics, and intellectual infrastructure as acutely as they need affordable gallery and studio space. Same is true for filmmakers. As we wait for these institutions to be built, I feel like I'm doing what Nigerian academics do, make recommendations to government. That's the essential thing in Nigerian education, university education teaches you to do. I did something else that Nigerian academics always do, which is if you're talking about film, the only thing you're really allowed to talk about is Tunde Kalani, which is, anyway. You know, the good news is at the end of the day, all education is self-education. Nigerian filmmaking has gotten where it is, and, you know, wow, it's really gotten somewhere without any of the support structures that it should have, and somehow it flourishes it. I do not think we should celebrate the conditions under which they've had to act, but you do have to celebrate what they've managed to do anyway. While we wait for all these institutions of the future to be built, let me say my favorite, the Nigerian educational institution I admire the most is Freedom Park. You know, I really, I've been talking about motivations, you know, richness of intention. And the guys who run iREP, who run Freedom Park, who run Cora, and so on and so forth, Jaman and Femi, and you know who they are. You know, yeah, I shouldn't start mentioning names because I wouldn't want to stop. But you know, their intentions are as profound and as rich and as thoughtful, as far-sighted as I can imagine. And, you know, so I salute them. I also, in their spirit, salute the young people to whom they're trying to hand over the labor of producing iREP. They don't really mean to stop doing it, but, you know, but this educational function, you know, really is central. So, you know, to the young people, I say, please, you know, continue, learn to raise money, learn to get the lighting, scaffolding up on time, keep flooding Freedom Park with children, because some spark may pass from, you know, the arts that are on display here to those young people. That's really a founding principle of iREP and of Freedom Park, and it's what needs doing. Thank you.
You know, the comment Jonathan made about iREP's work and contribution is actually a bribe. He wanted me to give him more time, so what I came here to harass him to. Thank you very much, Jonathan Haynes. We're really blessed to have you giving the keynote this year. As we've programmed, we didn't make provision for Q&A, because in the keynote you don't do Q&A. You're supposed to digest it, but then you can engage him because he's going to be here anyway throughout the festival. So you can meet him one-on-one. And thanks for the closing remarks about young people, because the next item we want to have is something that is going on within our midst here. And there are special guests this year. Last year it was Orange Academy. You know, they were here a lot to... we celebrated them last year. This year, we're dedicating this festival to I'll use Tunde Kelani's word, so I hope they forgive me. Multi-choice talent factory monkeys. Tunde Kelani said it. Members of multi-choice talent factory, please stand up. Academy. The festival this year is dedicated to them. Thank you very much for coming. We are really impressed because we know that the future is yours. Okay. You can settle down because that's what we want to do now. But please note that Tunde Kelani's film is screening at 1 o'clock. And at the opening, I said, he's an old man. You didn't believe me. When they bring the book celebrating his oldness or his agedness, you believe me. Then you know that I'm a prophet. Mr. Femi Odugbemi, who is the director of the Multi-Choice Talent Factory, your session is now.
Thank you, Jaman. The theme of the festival is storytelling. So we thought it was very important for us to give you a little peek behind the scene of an institutional intervention in storytelling in our industry, which began last year. That intervention is the Multi-Choice Talent Factory. And the Multi-Choice Talent Factory is not so much a film school as it is a storytelling experience, which we would love for you to kind of get a report on, and also for you to kind of understand the broadness of that intervention and everything that it entails. But I'm not going to do this alone because you know that the Multi-Choice Talent Factory is called that because there's a lot of intentional investment by an institution called Multi-Choice. They are the owners of the channels that are on your bouquet, and representing the management of that is with us, the Corporate Affairs Head and Director, Ms. Caroline Oguma. Please put your hands together. Please come to the front. I'm going to invite Caroline to simply just give you a quick background on why the Multi-Choice Talent Factory. I am the Academy head, but that's not why we're doing this. Don't worry, director. Yeah, it sounds much better. I am the director. But I wanted her to just quickly give you a hint of why Multi-Choice is doing this. And also we then play back for you a quick video of the work that we've done in the last few months. And then we'll get to the banner that came in. Ms. Caroline Oguma.
Hello, good afternoon. First, I must say thank you to iREP, Mr. FO and Jaman, TK, everyone else at iREP who have been gracious enough to invite us here. We're very glad to be here. We're glad. Should I say background to why we took a step towards institutionalized filmmaking? Should I say training in filmmaking? The project is a long time in coming. It's something we've been planning and working on, tweaking, and looking at different ways that we can give birth to something sustainable for the future. And for us, the key objective is, you know, to ignite Africa's creative industry, create vibrant economic powerhouses for the future of our filmmakers. So we said, okay, the Talent Factory, when we launched last May, with 20 you saw just now, the results of the call to action. They responded to us. We're glad to have them. And I think they've had a wonderful experience. I must say thank you to the facilitators and who have invested knowledge, you know, in this 20. So we promised 3 touch points with the Talent Factory. And the first was the academy with classroom-style training, theoretical and immersion-based training. From then, we've achieved the second tier, which was the master classes. We've had a few master classes across Africa. I must also maybe take a few steps back to say that The Multi-Choice Talent Factory is in 3 hubs. There's a Western hub, which is made up of Nigeria and Ghana. Then there's the Eastern and Southern hub. So we're in 13 countries as Talent Factory. It's been a very exciting experience, as Uncle Femi said. So we've had the master classes, which is the second tier we promised. But very specifically, I'm here to introduce the 3rd tier of, should I say the 3rd touch point of a Multi-Choice Talent Factory, which is the portal. So the portal is meant to be, it's an industry portal, it's a networking portal. The key objective is to connect industries across Africa. The reason I mentioned Talent Factory being in 13 countries is that the portal gives you an opportunity to, reach across. It has vast databases of people, creative people in the film industry and related sectors. And it's like a Facebook meets LinkedIn for creatives, and we're very excited about it. Now, but the key thing, the reason I'm here is not just to say that the portal has been launched. It was launched, I think, yesterday. But to say, please sign on. Sign up, join us, experience it. You're meant to load your body of work on the portal and then interact. It's an opportunity to promote cross-country collaborations amongst African filmmakers. And I think with your help, it's bound to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Don't go anywhere, you start. About the portal, for me, this is almost the most consequential thing for African cinema and generally all creatives. Why? Because beyond it just being a place where you can connect with people, is also a place where you identify, not just as a filmmaker, you identify in specific functions. You identify as cameramen, as soundmen, gaffers, script writers. And why is this important? Right now, across Africa, you want to film something in Nigeria, you're from South Africa, you have less than 4 or 5 people that are on your phone who you call to say, who can you recommend? And of course, ultimately, you recommend the only people that you know. So we're democratizing opportunity. If someone wants to make a film in Nigeria from Rwanda, from Ghana, from South Africa, well, guess what? They can go online, they can see samples of the work of cinematographers who are in Nigeria, and they can one-on-one decide who they wish to work with. I think that's important because it takes away that level of elitism that is also part of how people get work or not get work. It's particularly important for young filmmakers because what we find is a lot of them are very talented, but their network is very small. And if we can close that gap, if you can reach out and touch base and make friends with a filmmaker in a different country who wishes to share the experience of making a story, what we will also be doing is building a new how shall I say it, a new type of story, new types of stories, new types of storytellers, and a distribution capacity that goes beyond, where the filmmaker resides. So we'll close this with 2 films. One is a 5-minute film that sort of gives you an idea what we've been doing at the Multi-Choice Talent Factory for semester 1. And hopefully you will find these students during break. Please help talk with them, chat with them. If they ask for your phone numbers or email, please network with them. We've brought them here so that they have the experience of a film festival, but more than that, so that they connect with people in a way that empowers their learning. Thank you very much. Wale, would you please shut the lights and play the first film?
So last semester, so many facilitators came, ranging from Biodun Stevens to Kunle Afolayan, but my favorite was Steve Gukas.
There was Tunde Kelani, Kunle Afolayan, but I think my favorite person to come in so far has been Biodun Steven.
It was a very nice experience interacting with them because you then understand their process of filmmaking.
I had different people come from people who talk about business, about intellectual property rights, about law, about ethics, about so many things that were not just the core things I thought I knew about filmmaking, the business of it most importantly.
So during our immersion period, we actually went to 4 places, Tinsel, Super Sports, the Johnsons, and then post-production as part of our immersion.
Immersion for last semester was something else, and it's hard to meet different people on different sets, and I saw different process on how they make film.
It was a very different environment because it's one thing to learn about film and another thing to practice it. So we got an opportunity to do that on all the sets because we got to work with all the different departments.
For some sets, you observe. For some, they let you be a part of it. I was AD on some sets, and trust me, it was beautiful. I like the fact that I was almost in charge.
It was different because then you get hands-on training, more practical than we used to do in class, which is more theory.
So I think one of the major challenges that we had to deal with was that they have a method of doing certain things, even down to fetching water. Someone is already doing that. It was difficult to sort of give us something to do.
The Multi-Choice Talent Factory has exposed me to the business side of filmmaking, which is something I think most Ghanaian filmmakers are not exposed to. And I think that's something I can leverage on in the future of filmmaking in Ghana and Africa as a whole.
As a Ghanaian participant in the Multi-Choice Talent Factory Academy, one amazing thing about it is that it has enhanced my skill of storytelling. And this will help me tell better and impactful stories in Ghana.
MTF has shown me that I can be better than I ever thought I could be. That I can understand more the art of making film, the business of it and everything that has to do with it.
Content is king, but good content are really scarce in Africa. But as a result of the training that I have had at MTF, now I'm on a hunt for good content.
This past semester has made me realize the importance of the theory in filmmaking.
If there's one word I'll pick, is this opportunity helps to stop me from being a mediocre.
The MTF program is an opportunity to achieve all my dreams of being a writer and a producer.
It has actually taught me to be able to find myself and identify my artistic identity. So last semester was very exciting and very interactive, and I can't wait for this new semester. I know that it's going to be an amazing semester, and I just can't wait for it.
Last semester was amazing, and I'm just hoping that this second semester will be much more amazing. I'm looking forward to it.
That was just to give you a quick look at what we're doing there. We're in a purpose-built building somewhere in Victoria Island. We're in semester 1. We've just finished semester 1. We're in semester 2. This is a one-year course that is costing a lot of money, but has a huge value, hopefully, to change what the industry looks like. Change the storyteller, you'll change the story. I want to say thank you to all the facilitators who have come to the factory, who are here. We really, truly appreciate you, and thank you. So we'll quickly show you our little advertising that you'll find on your TV in a couple of days that basically talks about the portal. And just to add my voice to what Caroline has said, please, if you're a creative, sign up. It's free. You got nothing to lose. And what she didn't say is that it's a fully encrypted back end. Anything and everything that you have in there is safe. You own your own assets, pictures, video, whatever you put on it belongs to you. You can suspend your account, come back to it at another time, but I promise you, it is what will change the way our business does business. Thank you. Wale, please show.
Calling all filmmakers. Creating great content requires great collaboration. Introducing the Multi-Choice Talent Factory Portal, a pan-African networking platform that connects directors, producers, scriptwriters, DOPs, sound specialists, editors, actors, and more. Find each other, stay in touch, and create opportunities to keep making great African film. Visit multichoicetalentfactory.com and register today. Calling all filmmakers. Creating great content requires great collaboration. Introducing the Multi-Choice Talent Factory Portal, a pan-African networking platform that connects directors, producers, scriptwriters, DOPs, sound specialists, editors, actors, and more. Find each other, stay in touch, and create opportunities to keep making great African film. Visit multichoicetalentfactory.com and register today. Editors, actors, and
please, we thank the Multi-Choice Talent Factory. Thank you very much, madam, for the presentation, and I hope you take advantage of that. The next screening is of Tunde Kelani's film, but we're doing something with the screening of the film. There's a presentation of a book on him, which is not here yet. Lagos is on lockdown, so we just delay a bit. Earlier on, I mentioned that the chairman of iREP board will be joining us. And I think he has done quite well. He traveled in just this morning. He arrived this morning, and now he said, if I didn't even allow him to go and change his shirt. I said, don't change shirt, just come. So I'll be introducing the chairman shortly. But I'd like to also welcome into our midst, Brian Larkin. Just stand up for recognition, Brian. You'll be meeting him later. Just stand up for recognition this afternoon during the panel. He is also a documentarist of the story of African films and Nigerian films, especially Nigerian films, especially the story from the north that we've not been touching on. He's done a lot on what we call Kannywood. And because I'm told that there's Ijebu Wood now. And Meg, thank you very much for coming. Meg McLagan. She will be giving, you'll be meeting her tomorrow in a presentation on, reflecting on documentary filmmaking. That will be tomorrow, but she's around throughout. And then there's Jake, who is actually into science, but he's there because, don't worry, you do the power of film for us, because he's into power technology. Thank you very much for coming. Right now, TK is ready for us, but I'd like to bring the chairman of iREP here to formally welcome us. And you say, you are the chairman. That's your load. That's your body.
Good afternoon. Oh, wow. Okay. It's such a thrill to come back again to another year of iREP. So we are so lucky. After seeing the multi-talent exhibition, I want to say that iREP takes the credit for Femi is part of our foundation, and we've shared these visions, these dreams, and it's good to see these dreams manifest themselves by broadening out the development of skills of young African filmmakers. That's always been ambitions over the years, and it's good to see it come to fruition. So you guys are really an integrated part of our vision, and so we're so thrilled that it's happening, and I'm so glad that you're here. But we're so lucky. Every year is a trial to do this festival. A lot of people just break their bones and their backs to make this festival happen. But I think what keeps us going is your energy as the audience, as subscribers, because that partnership is what actually is important to sustaining our vision. So it's very important for us that you consider yourselves part of the iREP family, even if you just joined this year, because the conversations we have with you, the meetings, the exchange, the viewings of films is what keeps us going. And I just want to say we are so lucky over the years. We've been so lucky. We're a film festival with very little, but we've created so much, and we have so many good friends in different parts of the world. Apart from bringing stories from different parts of this country, we're also able to bring films from different parts of the African continent, but also globally. And we have scholars, enthusiasts, and other filmmakers and artists who come here to share with us. So we're really, really, really lucky, and we thank all of those who have come from far and wide to participate in this communion with us. And we're hoping that during this week we'll see as many films as possible, we'll exchange views, we'll exchange cards, but we'll keep the circle growing. One thing I told German and others was we were going to begin to print out some of the programs, but we're saying, no, you don't print out programs. We've gone past that paper stage. So you all have phones. So if you could, you need to actually tag iREP. You need to distribute the information and your views about what's going on. We need to broaden the circle, and you need to get the programs and the updates from the online updates rather than just us giving you papers and so on. So welcome, welcome. We are so excited to share this week with you, and please see all the movies. And it's unbelievable that it's a weekday at this time of the day to see so many people here. But for us, what really turns us on is to see younger and younger generation of enthusiasts and filmmakers and artists or wannabe artists who are joining the family. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Awa Mankpa. You'll be meeting Awam later, because on Saturday, he has a very important section. We've always been talking about not necessarily networking with other filmmaking or film communities around Africa. And he's bringing us something from the northern part, because he's currently in Abu Dhabi. Even though he's a professor at the New York University in the US, but he's now in the Abu Dhabi campus. And he's creating about 4 films for us that will be seen on Sunday, just to see other ways that people tell stories, different from the way we've been experiencing it. So, and it's always around anyway for this. From one big man to another. Okay, let me say what you mentioned about the online. I was rushing around that we should go and print, and he said, no, this age of technology, even these young people don't want to carry paper. So we're going to tell you the iREP sites. The website is iREPfilmfestival.com. As simple as saying Muhammadu Buhari. That's my nemesis for the next 4 years, you know. And yours too. He said, prepare for hard time. I pity you. And then hashtag iREP Film Festival on Twitter, even on YouTube, courtesy Yinka Oduni and his team. We have the keynote. In fact, what we have been doing, I've been live streaming. It's on iREPwebTV live stream. iREPwebTV live stream. So you can say the keynote if you miss the keynote, or you can also join the conversation going on there. And now to bring a very, very big man, and I think you should clap before I even call him here. You know what that is? That is vote buying. I've not even called him, you are clapping. Who do you know I want to call? What if I'm just calling myself? I present Tunde Kelani, a legend of filmmaking here. He will present the film and then we'll go ahead.
Thank you, German. It's Balabele Lagato, are you around? Come out now. You know, well, it's important that establish that the two of us made a film. This is Bola Bello Lagato. Two of us, filmmakers, one long, one short. You know, started this film project together, which we will, at the end of the film, hopefully engage you in question and answer. But more importantly, until now, Jonathan Haynes' keynote, you know, threw up, you know, chilling revelation of the state of the Nigerian film industry or Nollywood of African cinema. You know, and for me, it's chilling, you know, because this morning I had a discussion with Bimpe Adebambo here in the other room, and sort of gave her a summary of what I perceived our industry represented. And so, Jonathan's keynote, that paper, I think should be in all universities because there are lessons, both to government, institutions, the industry, you know, the stars, the red carpets and everything, you know, to learn, you know, about, just be familiar and see what our responsibilities, our direction in the future should be. It's all in that keynote. Thank you, John. You know, some of us are addicted to iREP from the beginning. And I said before John's keynote, there are two, you know, my addiction came in two types. At the beginning, I knew everything about iREP was Tony iREP. Anything I asked Femi Odugbe, yeah, call Tony. So it's Tony iREP. Tony iREP, are you here? You are here, I know. And the moment I said that you abandoned us, you didn't. I'm happy to learn that, so I'm happy you are still around. And then Gloria. Gloria is in the other room. Gloria, every iREP makes me this special coffee she calls either German coffee or something. And then I'm completely addicted to that coffee. I don't know what she puts in it. I have a feeling. I think I know what she puts in it, you know. And I didn't learn, I didn't want to know, but every iREP I drink this coffee made by Gloria. So Gloria, thank you very much. In fact, I was beginning to feel the effect of the coffee when I thought that perhaps I should co-opt Gloria so that she can make me the coffee every day in my house, but I've forgotten about it. Okay, so Lagato, Balabello says one or two things, you know, and then we are on to see this movie, and then we talk afterwards. Lagato.
Thank you, TK. I think I have a rare opportunity to live in the same town with TK. So every day is an experience. And going to Republic of Benin with TK is like the ultimate experience. So look forward to seeing the documentary and you will realize what I'm saying. Thank you.
There's no excuse anymore. You have this. Sorry, if you want to say something. Yes. Questions, please. Comments, questions.
Thank you very much, sir. I want to say that was a fine work of art. And coming to know that we did that with just our smartphones.
Coming to know that we did that with just our smartphones. Recently, I did a small documentary asking people why are we giving excuses of not having the equipment to work when we have the smartphone with us. Others just use theirs to do Facebook, Twitter, and all that, and tomorrow you say, I don't have the black magic, I don't have this, I don't have that. And most of these smartphones have good camera resolutions. And we just saw what we did with this. That was a very, very wonderful work. Thank you very much. And thank God you added the Brazil and Haiti narratives too to it. I thought, well, probably time, and we didn't have time to go to Brazil and Haiti to get some of those materials from them too. I know Yoruba stretched as far as Brazil and Haiti. The narrator said that in a narration. That was nice. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, sir. Okay, Eko Shegon, sir. So looking at that video art is related to culture and culture market and goals in the Yoruba land. As a photographer, mostly whenever I want to take pictures of like some culture, like the Awo, when they're doing their festival, they are doing something related to culture, something related to the deep Yoruba people. It's very rare for them to allow a young photographer that you're not among the, I mean, you're not allowed to take the picture. So I want to ask you, how do you find yourself? How do you get yourself doing that work? Are you also, I just want to know your belief system, because
You know, you are right. Of course, I've been fascinated by the cults, Egungun, Osun Festival, and so on. You know, at the end of the day, when you really move closer, you know, and to see what is going on, you realize these are ordinary people brought together by the culture. And sometimes I pose this question to the women here away, under the seclusion of the shrine, off-season, of course. And I said, why is it that you discourage people bringing camera in or something, and they just say, TK, just to make it, you know, we don't do it to make it special. That's why we do that. But if they trust you and you work with them, you become an insider. You understand? You know, so that's part of it. And again, the technology makes it simple now, makes access simple, because they think that your phone, you are not, maybe not ready to come and do it now, you know, that you come back later. You know. So what I'm saying is that there are even smaller devices, and within the last 6 months, I've been really learning and experimenting, because in truth, it is very, very difficult, of course, to do something really worthwhile on smartphones, unless you train and you get the gadgetry and the apps and the software professional to do it. So In other words, it looks, you know, point and click and shoot. No, it's more than that, because within the last few months, some of the professional apps on the big cameras now are found on these smart devices. Okay, sorry, somebody, I think we...
Please, for gender balance.
Oh, okay.
Okay, nice work. What I wanted to find out, since you used your 2 smartphones, how long did it take you to do the shoot? Because I don't know how long you stayed in this place. And then, was the editing also done with the phone? And if not, how long did the editing take? Thank you.
Since Lagato is also an associate producer, I think you should answer that one.
One thing was, we're lucky there was Festival International Port Novo. So that gave us immediate access to a lot of cultural stuff that was going on in Porto Novo. So we did that for 1 week, but afterwards we realized we didn't have enough content. Of course, we had to go back to Porto Novo and grab some more stuff, interviews, the people in the market, and all that stuff. And then that took 48 hours because TK's time was so limited. The extra. Yeah, after the 1 week. And post-production took forever. You know, it took until like, you know, maybe 3 days ago, we're still cutting, doing subtitling, you know, getting the language right and all of that, you know. We were just really lucky that the event, the festival was in Port Novo, you know, at that time, at the time we went. And we shot every day, even went to Wida as well, you know. Yep, on Okada always, you know. TK had never ridden on Okada until then. I'm like, TK, let's do Okada, please. So TK is back here safe and sound. Well, because we have to assemble. How many months? 1 year? No. I would say maybe the last 6 weeks probably, because we have to assemble. We lost one editor, had to find another editor, look for colorists and all of that, you know. So that took, I think, 6 weeks, you know.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Chioma. I want to ask a question. With this short film, which I see concerns itself about culture of the Yoruba people, I want to ask, are there measures or framework set in place to bridge the gap between the Yoruba on the Nigerian side and also on other side? Because we've always had the narrative that the Yoruba culture or the Yoruba people spread across various locations. Are there measures which this movie or the producers wish to pass on to the government or to the people of Yoruba in Nigeria so that the gap between these locations will be bridged? So whenever a Yoruba man sees another Yoruba man across his own specific location, he would know that this is my brother. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. I think that Lagato, Balabello, you know, here, you know, kicked off the documentary because around Christmas time, he packed his family to go to Porto Novo for vacation. And then rushed back to tell me that they found out that English language was useless. And that was the conflict because the Yoruba on that side didn't understand what they were saying. And they don't understand the French language. But they found out that it was easy, you know, to communicate simply in the Yoruba language. And the point the documentary makes at the end, first of all, the discussion is in modern times, after we've known our history, you know, that some people had this conference, never had been to the African soil and shared and divided the country. Is it possible to put in place a process of reuniting the Yoruba that is clearing all the borders between us? Something that has been of fascination to me. How can I, I've crossed in Ilara, and when you get to Ilara town, you're asking for the border. People are puzzled and say, well, if you go down for that there, you can find the border, And then, would I have transport to take me to K2? Oh, just go to the border, you find it. And then, I didn't find any border. In fact, we had even crossed when I said, where is the border? I said, you passed it. Oh, that place where there was a stick sticking out, that is the border. And I thought, well, think about it. If a hunter or a farmer, chases game and shoots an antelope, and the antelope runs, and then runs after it to kill it, and then somebody comes and say, you have crossed into a country without any papers. This antelope, does it have like say passe? So it's been already of interest to me. But at the end of the documentary, that's resolved in a sense, and Professor Moshood actually said it will be cumbersome to start that, And then it's been, they thought about it, that we could never agree, even between us. But it makes a point eliminated automatically. That's the answer.
I wanted to know if what structures, if I did, based on the movies you've done, are they distribution structures like for this now? We have Yorubas in.
You struck a chord there. My type of filmmaking, I cannot recommend to anyone. Believe me sincerely, sometimes I even question my sanity or why I'm doing this. We went into this, we can, at a glance, tell you we spent so much money. We went into it without any business plan, except that this is something we have to do now at the spur of the moment. And then we now worry how we will survive it. So I think that on the case of this movie, certainly we want the money back. We want our investment back so we can make more movies. So I think we will appeal to iREP. Please find us a market, anybody who can give us so much money, because as I speak to you, there's a lot of demands stepping up. As I'm here now, they've called me from Aguare as far back as north of Yoruba, because we are going to embark, on a journey, not a journey, to rediscover. First of all, from Aguare, because at the point of the Afonja era and all the war that went on in that place, where did it happen? So we're going to have to go to Aguare. They told me we have to go to Igbo Eluku, and we have to go to Igbo Obatala. And the Yoruba cities are there in the jungle. We have not even bothered to travel to look. So we have to find out, the principal cities at that time, Bara, Oshogun, and all these cities, they are there in the jungle. So they told me that it's rained, and if we don't set out right now, it will be overgrown again. So I can tell you, of course, I don't know if anybody will listen. So we have to rediscover all these sites. And the importance of Bara alone, where or your kings were buried. I think there are 4 Alafins that slept in Bara. It's where they're just beginning to start to, dig again to discover the walls of Bara. So there's a lot of work to do, So don't sit down and don't do just the red carpet. All the glamour. There's serious work, for you young generation. You must go out and find and rediscover yourselves and your stories. Thank you.
Okay. Well, talking about the distribution, I would just like to mention that.
How much? No, yes, we agree. We will take the money.
I'm still applying for you. 2 days ago, Femi Odugbemi is not in the room, but the people from MultiChoice, they launched an initiative, a portal, where you could actually sell your film. So I think you need to dig into that. It's well reported in the media. And then TK should speak about Mokolo and your attempt to convince government to build 21 cinemas all over Lagos or all over the country. Because those are initiatives that we could still bring up and find a way around it. There are so many initiatives going on, but they always died almost at infancy. But he has been part of that. Maybe that's the kind of question the lady was asking.
A comment. Sorry, careful with my coffee. It's expensive. No, of course I'm aware that, well, that's the point, because we thought that we need to strengthen, build institutions, build the infrastructure to make our industry truly, truly sustainable. For me, there's been a lot of initiatives to key into the development of Nollywood because it's absolutely important. It's so important that we dare not fail. We must not fail, because if we will let down not just Africa, but we let down the whole world. So it's a work in progress.
Well, what TK has not said is that Mokolo is hanging on one leg. And the 21 cinemas went with
I think
politics.
that the MultiChoice Talent Factory portal takes over, throwing, and part of Mukolo, the important thing is we now have a portal. And then, of course, that's a valuable platform on which is the part of the ongoing project around Nollywood and African cinema.
Also check online for Code Quest. Code Quest is a Pan-African initiative from East Africa. But I think they are on. It's just that there's a bit of concentration on French films. But they always say that they don't get material from us. It's headed by a lady from Kenya. So your comment, we have 2 more comments and then we have to move on.
Okay, my name is Kanayo. I'm a freelance scriptwriter. And I must commend your efforts at documenting history. A historian once said that not to know what happened before you were born is to forever remain a child. And I'm from the eastern part of Nigeria, and looking at that short documentary was a whole lot for me. Most times, as a budding filmmaker, I worry a lot at the way things are evolving and are fast changing. And if we don't do anything right now, we might not have the opportunity to document. When I was a child, there was Bar Beach, and now there is virtually no Bar Beach. It's been overtaken by buildings. And, things just begin to change. When you said you for us to say that we can't do anything because there is so much to be done. For me, I commend iREP, for having this initiative to put together this whole platform. Documenting, it is so key, it is so important. And I feel that as Africans, it's our duty to tell our own stories. We can only tell our own stories better. No other person can tell our own stories. It is our duty, it is an obligation. In fact, it is a must that we must tell our own stories. So, sir, I am so happy to meet you face to face. For me, it's, it's an awakening. Something is already budding in me. Something is alive, and I pray that I will be able to bring it to fruition. So please, let's tell our own stories. Nobody can tell it better than we can. Thank you.
It's a comment. The next comment is for Professor. I don't think I'll take everybody.
I'm not sure TK would remember this, but a couple of years ago, I traveled with you to Port Novo when you were screening White Handkerchief. I don't know whether you remember. Yeah, I did. You and I went to Port Novo. Now, in responding to the question by the young woman who had asked about how this documentary would forge the connections between Yoruba people around the world, the point you made was that Yoruba culture would eliminate boundaries. But I want to push that further. And for me, it is that Yoruba culture would allow us to recognize our collective humanity, right? We're not just, the Yoruba culture should not only allow us to recognize another Yoruba culture, it should allow us to recognize the humanity of other people from other cultures. And the real power of that, then, is that it's going to make it possible for our politicians not to divide us with dubious narratives, right? So this one is Igbo, this one is Yoruba. The stories we tell about Igbo people, the stories we tell about Yoruba people, Yoruba culture would help us recognize what's human amongst us rather than what divides us. This is what's powerful about it.
Okay, so you hear now, this man is an intellectual. That's why I move with them. I learned a lot.
Please, I need to crave your indulgence. I won't take any more questions. Otherwise, we will not see the other films. And we are here to see films. We don't want to intrude on films. TK is going to be around. I will make sure that he doesn't leave the room, so the room does not go empty. TK, please drink more of your poisonous. Drink more coffee. No, because what we're seeing next is Nollywood in Focus. And I think we are all part of that. And TK is the father of Nollywood, so he cannot leave. Baba Agba. Grandpa, sorry, Baba Agba of Nollywood. So we're going to screen Nollywood in Focus. Is Ike Ude in the house, the filmmaker? I doubt that. He's one of the guests we couldn't bring from the US, but we screen his film, and then we'll see the second film. And please bear in mind that 3:40, Professor Linus Abraham will be giving us storytelling and identity. And you'll be able to, an African identity. You'll be able to link TK's film back to what Professor Linus will be talking about. Thank you very much. You see Nollywood in Focus.